The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, interactive.
Next on the weekend edition of the RCWR show, a look back into what you might have missed from this week's WWE TNA Ring of Honor with the very latest in wrestling-related news. Also, special in-depth look into the returns of The Rock, Brock Lesnar, Chris Jericho, eventually Triple H, and The Phenom, The Undertaker. Is WWE really going into the right direction, going towards WrestleMania? Is WWE really favoring their veteran wrestlers of yesteryears too much? I'll offer you my takeaway on this, as it's a very heated debate amongst wrestling fans. We'll also cover the very latest in entertainment and beyond, as I have some really great kick-ass reviews for you all. Up is Dave Ghrol, frontman of the Foo Fighters' directorial debut in Sound City. It's now available on DVD. I'll give you my honest review of that. And also, for you Xbox 360 fans, you know we got that new Metal Gear Solid Rising that's going to be coming out in February. Yours truly had the opportunity to play the demo, and I will give you the 411 on that. Weekend edition of the RCWR show begins right now.
Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond. You're listening to the RCWR show, Weekend Edition, with your host, Lee Sanders.
Lee Sanders with you all, coming at you on February 2nd, 2013. We are 63 days away and counting to the biggest event of them all in professional wrestling, WrestleMania. You know how we do it over here. As always, chat room's open. Feel free to jump on in there at blogtalkradio.com. You can also take the time to interact with us during the course of this episode on Twitter. Hit us up at Infinity1Prod. Let's rewind it back. We got to go back to Monday Night Raw from this past week, where we saw the shocking return of, here comes the pain, the beast, Brock Lesnar, who came out right when Paul Heyman was going through his evaluation with the WWE Chairman, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, or as I like to think about him as, McMahonism. We saw some very interesting developments right here between Paul Heyman, Vince McMahon, just before Lesnar came out, as McMahon showed footage that, without a doubt, implicated Paul Heyman had a hand, a very strong hand at that, and successfully having the WWE title remain around the waist of one CM Punk. CM Punk, of course, who is no longer champion, as he was defeated by the great one, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. It was revealed that Paul Heyman did indeed hire Brad Maddox and The Shield to help CM Punk retain his title. And once Vince McMahon had showed this footage, he was ready to fire Paul Heyman right there on the spot. But then we saw the return of, here comes the pain, Brock Lesnar, who came into the ring. Paul Heyman, he knew exactly what was going to be happening right here. He tried to plead with Lesnar. Lesnar, not even uttering a word, just threw up the hand gesture for Heyman to stay in his corner, stay right where he is. He doesn't want to hear it. Looks eye to eye with Vince McMahon. McMahon telling Brock Lesnar, I wouldn't do something that you would later regret. Brock Lesnar thought about it sarcastically and just said, what the hell, and delivered that devastating F5 to the WWE Chairman. In all my years that I have seen Brock Lesnar deliver that F5, nothing was more devastating than seeing him do that F5 to an almost 70-year-old man. I mean, mad props to Vince McMahon, because I just don't. Vince McMahon has a lot of balls. That's all I got to say. I know in the past, when it was a little bit TV 14 there, it kind of looked as if Vince McMahon, he used to love going around telling folks how he had balls the size of grapefruits. Well, you know what? He definitely has some grapefruits because he got into that ring with a much younger man, and he really sold the hell out of that F5. And now we're hearing storyline-wise that Vince McMahon may have broken his hip and that he's basically going to be needing surgery. Hey, you know what? It wouldn't even surprise me if it turns out that's actually legit because Vince McMahon got bent and destroyed like a pretzel. That was just ridiculous right there. Of course, we also have to make sure we mention that over on the other side of the neck of the woods with regards to the WWE Championship, we see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson not able to bask in the glory of being new champion as former champion, best in the world, although that may be questionable now since he no longer has that title around his waist. CM Punk issued a challenge to The Rock to go one-on-one at Elimination Chamber. This is playing out so far just as I had said it was going to go down on our Royal Rumble post show. I said, don't be too surprised right here. We end up seeing a situation where The Rock could be taking on CM Punk for the title in a one-on-one match. It really didn't seem too keen to me to see The Rock, CM Punk be involved in some type of a elimination chamber, because when you really think about it, that would mean Rock would have to be in there a little bit more. That would mean he would have to sell a lot more bumps, and I don't really think he needs to be in that type of a position, especially with WrestleMania around the corner. And of course, as we all know, The Rock, for the most part of his WWE career there from 98 to, 2003, the man never really was out with a serious injury. I actually don't even recall The Rock being sidelined at all for a great length of time. The man has been very lucky to not have gotten serious bumps and serious injuries over the years. But with WrestleMania being so close, I just don't see that type of match happening. That's what I had said on our Royal Rumble post show, and it's very pleasing to see that that's what's happening with this particular rivalry right here. Of course, we also have to talk about what's been going down with the recent surge in these veteran WWE superstars that's been making their returns. Of course, we saw The Rock come back. We've seen Brock Lesnar make his shocking return. No doubt Triple H is around the corner. We have a doubtful phenom, The Undertaker, as he's not even really sure if he's physically going to be capable of wrestling at WrestleMania this year, although I'm still going to pencil him in because at this point you need him in there because he has to do some type of a program with CM Punk. That's definitely the money maker right there. Otherwise, CM Punk is going to be in some serious limbo unless you put him in a triple threat match for the WWE Championship. Just throw him in there with The Rock, John Cena, and still you can have John Cena come out on top as the WWE Champion if that is the plan to go with. But with the recent surge of all these men that has come back into the WWE, it can't help but beg the question here, which is WWE relying too much on their veteran wrestlers? Are they relying too much on their superstars from the Attitude Era, from yesteryears? And this is a debate that I love seeing happen across social media as we see folks, they go to YouTube and they make their rants on why they feel that WWE's in a bad spot right now because of all these old guys coming back, and it's like the topic of a lot of shows as they want to try to milk the hell out of it, some going as far as to make an hour-long discussion out of it. I don't really think you need an hour-long discussion over it, but, it's definitely a very heated question, and depending on the person that you ask, it seems like half the folks will say that it's good for business, But then you have that other half that'll say, no, it's bad for business. Let's really try to look at this from both perspectives right here. Let's see if we can bring them all together and try to find some type of common ground today. Now, when I look at these guys coming back, the first thing I think about, as I'm sure many veteran WWE fans think about, veteran WWF fans think about, is, man, these guys, they're back. Oh, man, they're taking me way back. They're taking me back to a point in time when wrestling really used to kick some serious ass. They're taking me back to a time when I was in high school or I was in college. You know, they're taking me back to my, as that Bruce Springsteen song goes, glory days. You know, so I can kind of feel that nostalgic. And, you know, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I get very yippity and just all explosively happy when I see veteran guys like The Rock, Chris Jericho, Undertaker, Triple H. I love it when those guys come back. And, you know, quite honestly, you know, the way I'm looking at these guys returning, I look at it as, okay, you know what? WrestleMania is around the corner. It is really time for them to start pushing the hell out of it. They got to do what they got to do to make sure that WrestleMania is one of the top biggest draws. That is their cream of the crop. That is their powerhouse money-making machine. They got to have the top acts participate there. And, you know, I'm thinking about it from that business standpoint, especially with the venue. I mean, they're coming to the MetLife in, what's that, New Jersey, New York? I mean, they're going to be in that area, and that is the foundation, one of the main foundations for professional wrestling. That wrestling crowd out there, they can make or break the career of a up-and-coming wrestler. And I mean, really, when you think about it, you just take it all in. You got to do what you got to do to make sure that you're able to sell those tickets, to sell those pay-per-view buy rates. You have to do whatever you got to do to make sure that you're able to convince that person at home why they should spend that $50, $60, $70, $80 to check out the pay-per-view. So, you know, from a marketing standpoint, you know, I can appreciate where they're going. Now, on the other hand, we got those that argue, well, you know, WWE, here's a case right here where they keep going back to these guys, they keep going back to these old heads, and time again, we see them not really giving their young guys a chance to really shine. Let's just back up for a second here. I want you guys to be for real with yourselves. If you saw a WrestleMania card that had Wade Barrett versus Bo Diddley, Antonio Cesaro versus The Miz for the United States title, CM Punk versus John Cena for the WWE title, Dolph Ziggler versus Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight title, Caitlyn versus Tamina for the Divas title, Kane and Daniel Bryan versus the Primetime Players for the tag titles, and who am I forgetting? Oh, Undertaker. Well, let's say Undertaker is in a match against Randy Orton. If you guys were to see that type of card, I want you to be honest with yourselves. You wouldn't probably order WrestleMania. You would probably look at that card and say, it's just another episode of Monday Night Raw. It's just another episode of Smackdown. I'll pass on this one. And for those of you that say, no, I actually think that's a good card, I think you guys are kind of ribbing here. You need to be really honest with yourselves. Then again, you may have liked that card that I put out there. Who knows? But you see where I'm going with this? there's no main attractions in there. You got to have some shock value in there. You got to have some money-making draws. And you know what? It's no disrespect to guys like Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns of The Shield, as no doubt they will probably be having a match at WrestleMania as well. That's another stable I had forgot to put in there. And you know what? Say, hypothetically speaking, we end up seeing them in a three-man tag match against Ryback, Sheamus. I'm forgetting that guy. You know where I'm going with this. But even at that, you got to have some main attraction guys that's in there to really help bring in those draws. And unfortunately, with all due respect to guys like The Shield, Cesaro, The Miz, who's found in new popularity, Del Rio, who's found new popularity, with all due respect to Damian Sandow, Cody Rhodes, with all due respect to all of those guys, Ryback included, they just aren't quite at that point right now where they can match the caliber of a Stone Cold Steve Austin, of a Dwayne The Rock Johnson. CM Punk is probably the one guy that has been able to really break that mold and be in that elite group along with them, and also John Cena. Love him or hate him, he is also a top draw as well. So bearing all that in mind, WWE needs to do what they have to do. And, you know, quite honestly, when you really think about it in retrospective, the WWE product that we've been getting these past several months before we saw all these guys make their return, the company's been heading into a really great direction. I mean, it's literally almost adopting a concept that I could think of a couple of years back, which is why not have Team A, which would be your up-and-coming wrestlers, hold the fort down on Raw and SmackDown for a good series of months. And then when it comes close to WrestleMania time, you bring in Team B. You merge them in with Team A, but you have the focus be on Team B because they're going to be the ones that's going to help lead the way into getting all that revenue at WrestleMania. And honestly, this is a concept that I think WWE has been doing very well. I mean, of course, 9 times out of 10, once WrestleMania is all said and done with, all these guys that we're seeing, they're probably going to be done, with the exception of Chris Jericho. You know how he is. He kind of takes it by the day, by the week there. He could work out some type of a extension after WrestleMania. Who knows? That's one we're going to have to watch more closely. But bearing all that in mind, you know, the product that we've been getting from the company the past few months with new stars being pushed, that's not going to stop just because we see the return of all these WWF Attitude Era guys coming back. Trust me, they're still going to be pushing the hell out of their new guys. They're still going to put that spotlight back on them after WrestleMania is over. But, you know, in retrospect, one could sit up and they could argue night and day about this. Let's just all be in agreement. It's actually a pretty good time right now to be a wrestling fan and kind of like what's happening with the WWE. You know, I would just hope that if anything, with regards to The Rock versus CM Punk, well, not The Rock versus CM Punk, but if anything, with regards to The Rock taking on John Cena, I would hope that if there is going to be one final encounter, that it's not going to happen at WrestleMania. I think at this point, the third encounter would just maybe need to happen at SummerSlam. If it is going to happen at WrestleMania, you know, Rock versus John Cena 3, then that can't be what closes out the show. They got to have something that's going to be a little bit stronger than that. They got to put some type of a gimmick behind it because that's basically 3 years in a row that you're going to be feeding fans Rock versus Cena. I just don't think that's fair to them. So hopefully we can get something entirely different with regards to Rock versus Cena 2 at this year's WrestleMania. And as I said, if they end up doing this for a third time, then let it be at SummerSlam, or heck, let it go down at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. But folks, that's my 2 cents on that. For those of you that's hearing of this, hey, you're more than welcome to chime in your thoughts. You can comment in our chat room that's open right now, and you can also interact with us on Twitter. If you end up checking this out on YouTube, feel free to leave those comments below. But that's my overall spin on that. Also on Raw that we saw from this past week, we saw the one and only Bo Dallas in action, fresh off of his first appearance at WWE's Royal Rumble, where he eliminated Wade Barrett. We actually saw him get called out in a Player's Choice match, as it was Raw Roulette night. Wade Barrett chose to take on Bo Dallas, and in a upset, Bo Dallas was able to defeat the Intercontinental Champion. Of course, this isn't the first time that we're going to be talking about Wade Barrett on a losing streak. Spoiler alert, as we're going to be covering Smackdown in just a little bit. But, I'm really liking the continued push that we're seeing right here from Bo Dallas. He has definitely captured my attention, and it's obvious that WWE has big things planned for that young man. Very interesting development right there. But overall, when you think about what we had got from this past Monday night's Raw, despite it being a Raw Roulette episode, it was a little bit of a lackluster snoozer type of episode, one of which really, if it wasn't for Brock Lesnar making his shocking return, or The Rock having his exchange of words with former WWE Champion CM Punk, it really would have been a lackluster episode. And bear in mind that this was supposed to be the Royal Rumble post show. But surprisingly, with the additions of The Rock, Brock Lesnar, Raw did pretty damn good in the ratings this week, and we definitely need to make sure we give them a nod here, despite the fact that last Monday was kind of they actually did pretty damn good. Let's feed you guys some of those stats right now. For those of you that are a little bit curious, I'm pulling it up right now for you guys, and it goes as follows. This past Monday night's Raw ended up scoring a 3.68 rating and averaged 5.2 million viewers. Now, bear in mind, folks, this is up significantly in viewers by 16% when you compare it to last week's episode of Raw, which had achieved a 3.4 rating with an average of 4.317 million viewers. Now, during the first hour of Raw this past Monday night, it drew a 4.86 million viewers, and it increased to 5.27 million viewers in the second hour. Viewership in the third hour, however, had dropped to 4.93 million viewers. Now, it should be noted that with this week's episode of Raw, it has been the highest rated episode since the post-WrestleMania 27 episode back in 2011 and the 1000th episode back on July 23rd, 2012. Really good, strong numbers right there. I truly believe that The Rock and Brock Lesnar have a lot to do with that. Of course, for full coverage and what all you might have missed from this past Monday night's Raw, I definitely welcome you guys to be kind and rewind. Go check out the RCWR show from earlier this week. And if you want to catch us live, where we cover nothing but the fallout from WWE Raw and the latest in wrestling-related news, be sure to check out the Tuesday night edition of the RCWR show. It airs at 11 p.m. Eastern. You'll be able to catch it right here on blogtalkradio.com. We're going to take a very brief commercial break, but when we come right back, we're going to take a look into what you might have missed from Main Event this week. And we'll also take a look at TNA Impact Wrestling, as it was open fight night and it aired from the UK. All this and the very latest in wrestling-related news and beyond. We'll be coming right back, folks.
For news you can use, like us on Facebook during this commercial break at Infinity One Productions.
All right, we're back. So let's pick it up with the WWE Main Event on the Ion channel, where we saw Antonio Cesaro and Ryback in a rematch from last week's main event. Remember, Cesaro, he ended up getting a countout as he did not want to take his ass whooping. Well, this week was pretty much the same thing again, but not before Cesaro was able to deliver a strong boot to the face of The Miz. Of course, the way this is looking right here, it is really appearing to us that we could be seeing a triple threat match for that United States Championship between Miz, Antonio Cesaro, and Ryback. I, for one, would love to see that happen, but of course, if that were to go down, we know how the end result would probably be. They, being creative, they probably would want to try to protect Ryback, so not have him be the one that gets pinned or submit. I see Miz defeating Antonio Cesaro via submission or via pinfall to get that United States title. So just a matter of when is it going to go down? Is it going to happen at the Elimination Chamber, or is it possibly going to go down at WrestleMania? Of course, we still haven't heard that many matches be announced for the Elimination Chamber. All we know right now is that we're going to see the World Heavyweight Championship contested in a Elimination Chamber match, and we know that The Rock is going to be taking on CM Punk in a singles match for the WWE title, but more matches should be forthcoming within this week. But once again, love the continued development here of The Miz, and he's just been really doing such a phenomenal job getting over with the crowd. I mean, him and Alberto Del Rio, they've just been doing such a superb job. Looks like Antonio Cesaro, as I had said weeks back, a couple of months back, Cesaro, he just really needed to get more comfortable with himself and his ability on the mic, and he just really seems to be just oozing with confidence. It just seems to me that it's growing more and more every single day. Definitely one of those throwback type of wrestlers. I always love it seeing that guy, man. I could just watch a whole DVD of him for just hours. I mean, he just makes anybody look good. Of course, Ryback, he was actually looking a little more loose there as he was taking on Cesaro. But then again, when you have Cesaro taking all the bumps, of course, Ryback is going to kind of look a little good. But from the little bit I was able to see from him as far as the offense went, he was looking like he's getting a little more loose there, kind of not so stiff. He's coming along pretty nicely, I think. Of course, we also saw the one Tensai in action as he was able to pick up a victory over Titus O'Neil. Now, this had resulted in a backstage segment where Tensai was minding his own business when the Primetime Players had approached him and brought up his lingerie and thong attire that he had wore on Raw Roulette, probably one of the most disturbing things I have ever seen in WWE in recent years, at least when I think about Sir Albert, Prince Albert, Hip Hop Hippo. And to kind of see Tensai go back to that little gimmick there on Raw, and then to see, of all people, Brodus Clay come out during Tensai's match against Titus O'Neil to help even up the odds. It's really looking as though Brodus Clay and Tensai are going to be a new tag team right here. I'm very curious to hear what their name could possibly be. We saw WWE Creative, they tried aggressively to help push Lord Tensai. They tried to push him as this phenomenal beast, as they were well aware of his Japan background, as he spent a good number of years there and did quite successfully there, repackaging himself the way that he did. He comes on over here, and he just met a lot of backlash And unfortunately, and I went on record when I was talking about this on Monday night. I said, guys, here we have Tensai wearing lingerie. It must be black days ahead because it's looking as though Tensai might possibly be on his way out the door. And, now that a few days has passed since that, I'm kind of at a point right now where I won't say I'll go to that extreme, so I will retract what I had said, but it still wouldn't surprise me if he might ask for a release. But to kind of see where Tensai is going now, I'm just really kind of getting that vibe that it was probably a mutual agreement between Tensai and WWE Creative. They probably sat up and they said, you know what, we've tried to go as far as we could with the Tensai gimmick. Bro, it's just not working. We got to try to add some type of a new character development to you. How would you feel about maybe going in this direction? I think all sides came to some type of a agreement right here. And quite honestly, I think it's exactly what Tensai needs, because when you think about it, it's got folks talking again. I mean, I can't help but kind of compare this to what they had did with Vladimir Kozlov. I love double E. Remember that guy? He was so badass. He was just strong, and he was just this big powerhouse of a guy. And it just seemed like that man had future championship belts coming to him, and didn't quite go that route. As remember when we saw him with the whole dancing gimmick, and he was doing a little bit of comedy routine stuff, when it just seemed like he wasn't able to get that far, and then eventually we saw him get released. Yeah, it's kind of echoing the same thing when I look at Tensai. Very curious to see where this goes, but hey, at least they're making the best out of something. Brodus Clay and Lord Tensai. I really hope that works out, and if it doesn't, hey, Tensai cannot slap around Brodus Clay like he did Sakimoto. All right, and other than that, that was it for Main Event this week. Main Event, what can I say about that show? It gets better and better every single week. Truly one of the best WWE produced shows that they have out there right now. All right, let's switch it up a little bit, and let's talk about what you might have missed from TNA Impact Wrestling. As seen on Spike TV from this past Thursday night, I want to just highlight some of the key points that you might have missed. Of course, we had 2 new members of Aces and Eights be revealed, and it really kind of came as a no shocker right here. Of course, it was Garrett Bischoff and Wes Briscoe who ended up getting the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle inside of a steel cage, where it was basically a 2-on-1 beatdown. You knew this was coming. There was probably a little bit of trepidation. Those of you were probably looking at this and saying, maybe it's not going to be Garrett and Wes Briscoe. Well, it ended up being Garrett and Wes Briscoe. And, we were talking about this on Impact Showdown Radio this Thursday night, and we had special guest, the famous Justin Reno, on the show. And I highly encourage you to go backtrack to that episode, as we had a blast just kicking back and talking all things TNA wrestling, all the good stuff. And, it's just something that just really I felt was just disappointing and quite honestly insulted the viewers, because the viewers, they already knew this. It really would have been nice had they went another route. It just when it seemed like they were going somewhere positive with Taz being revealed as a Aces and Eights member, they go with this, and we see Taz just continue to do commentating. It's really just not doing anything right now, and this really needs a serious boost, whether it be from a Jeff Jarrett, whether it be from a Garrett Bischoff. This just really needs some true shock value to it to really keep it going. At least TNA Wrestling is keeping their word, and they have been unmasking the members of the stable. And at this rate that they're going, I think everybody's going to have their mask gone by the time summer rolls around, if it continues this way. If I'm not mistaken, I think that now leaves about 4 guys with their mask possibly. But, the thing that was even more peculiar about Impact this past Thursday was the continuation of the Bully Ray, Hulk Hogan, Brooke Hogan, where we saw Hulk Hogan reinstate Bully Ray. That's right, Bully Ray has been reinstated. He's now going to be able to get his hands on the aces and eights, as Hulk Hogan had put Bully Ray in a tag match with the Icon Sting. 2 of them will be teaming up to take on 2 members of Aces and Eights. So, pretty explosive moment right there. So, a lot to look forward to on next week's episode of Impact Wrestling. But once again, fans' intelligence being insulted. They already knew that Garrett Bischoff, Wes Briscoe was in Aces and Eights. This really should have been an opportunity where if they were going to reveal some folks, they should have went in another direction and kind of prolonged that if they could. But, TNA Wrestling, they were from the UK, and they're going to be in the UK for the next month. And, great experience, great exposure right there, as TNA President Dixie Carter had revealed that TNA Wrestling is now going to be going on the road for what appears to be on a permanent basis. It all begins March 14th at the Sears Center Arena, and it looks like finally the moment that TNA Wrestling fans have been waiting for is going down. That's right, TNA Wrestling is going to be coming to your neck of the woods. I know there's a lot of you that are very excited about that. As I had said in a very special YouTube episode, because as soon as this news had broke out, I actually had made a video and I had posted it on YouTube, sharing my reactions to it. This really comes as a good surprise, and it's about damn time, because this is exactly what TNA Wrestling needs right now, because they have had an American fan base that has been so loyal to them all these years that it's gotten to that point right now where, despite the fact that they have been very successful overseas, as, hey, they've even been able to secure a cable deal with a Japan network to be able to bring Impact episodes and pay-per-views over there. Only catch is going to be a month delayed, but still, that's pretty damn good. And then you got the success that they've been having in the UK with their TNA British Boot Camp. They have just been really making great strides this past month. And it's gotten to a point right now where, TNA Wrestling, they're finally able to go on the road. Now we're going to be able to see how this product truly stacks up in front of a New York crowd, in front of a Maryland crowd, in front of a DC crowd, in front of a Pittsburgh crowd, in front of a Los Angeles crowd, in front of a Green Bay crowd. Now we're going to know what these guys are really capable of, because they're going to be bringing us episodes of Impact Wrestling Live from these respected cities, just all over the world, in the U.S. I'm loving this. Now they're going to know what superstars are really deserving of a push and what superstars just aren't clicking with the fans. Now they're going to be able to fine-tune their product in the areas needed to really prove that they should be named amongst the likes of WWE, Ring of Honor. At the same time, when I look at this, guys, this comes off to me like WWE. I hope you got your guys in the back watching this and taking notes, because just the fact that TNA has been able to expand like this, I think we're going to be having an entirely different conversation 6 months from now, when we're all going to be talking about how great of a success TNA has been this year with their newfound growth. And just the smart moves that they've been doing, cutting back on the pay-per-views, as they're now only going to be focusing on Slammiversary, Bound for Glory, Genesis, lockdown, you combine that with their new aggressive campaign for social media and really trying to prove their dominance on all of those, even taking advantage of Pinterest, taking more of an advantage with Facebook, Instagram. I mean, they are just really destined to have great success. Let's just hope that it does come to fruition. And I actually want to share a few comments with you all from some of the people that had responded to that YouTube video that I did breaking the news. Because, like I said, literally, as soon as it went down, I actually had uploaded a video asking folks for their comments. And this comes from JExtreme85. He says, "You hit this on the head. TNA needs this. Now they can see what the fans want to see. Only way they can get bigger is to branch. Fans need an alternative wrestling product." This comes from Mr. Blue 34 Life, who says, "TNA will be competition to the WWE. About time. Watch out, Vince McMahon. You stayed TV 14. Or correction, what he's trying to say is, I read this right, but I think what he's trying to say is, you should have stayed TV 14. Something to cry about. He says, it's certainly a great step for them. Right now, they'll only be able to tap 1 week and be live another. If they manage to get a small attendance in some countries, my best bet would be then to air the shows a couple of times again internationally, like in Mexico or Japan, where huge wrestling fans are too. But I think that part of the reason ratings were low was not only because they weren't on the road, but because they didn't cater to certain cities that want to see them live. Mighty123, fans are finally getting they wish. Damn time, yo. Let's see what they do now. Thank you all for those comments. And if you all want to chime in your thoughts, you can just hop on YouTube and you can look up the video. It's called TNA Impact Wrestling Going on the Road, Leaving Florida Studios. It's probably one of the first, I'm trying to look it up right now on YouTube. It's actually one of the first 3 videos that you'll be seeing when you go to our RCWR show page. And if you haven't subscribed to us yet, be sure that you do. From time to time, we'll have the pleasure of breaking out news that you can use, and we also have some exclusive goodies that we put on there from time to time. You can check it out on YouTube at the RCWR show. Feel free to leave those comments too. You know, we don't get that many comments, but it's always appreciative when folks go out of their way to leave comments. It kind of looks as though we have people that just care more about watching rather than leaving a comment or whatever. But we always love it when you guys leave comments on our YouTube stuff. So feel free to keep that up. And in the meantime, hey, just keep rocking and rolling, man. Keep enjoying it. Of course, for those of you that want full in-depth analysis of what all had went down from Impact Wrestling this past week, I highly encourage you to be kind and rewind. Go backtrack to Impact Showdown Radio from this past Thursday night. It's in the archive section, and check it out. I had special guest, the famous MECW former champion Justin Reno, stop by, and he had dropped some huge news for us folks as he is part of the TNA Gut Check voting tournament, and basically he needs your help in advancing so that he can try to fulfill his lifelong dream of making an appearance on Spike TV's Impact Wrestling to be able to compete for a TNA wrestling contract. So go check it out. You can look him up at justinreno.com for all the information. You can also go to impactwrestling.com. But I would very, very much love for you guys to go to his website first, as he provides the link directly so that you can go there and vote for him. And if you're not familiar with Justin Reno yet, I highly encourage you to go check him out on his YouTube channel at Justin Reno. He's got some really great matches on there. The guy is just fucking phenomenal, and he is definitely going to be a guy that we're going to be talking about for years to come. He's young, he's hungry, he's determined, And I'm not just saying that. I actually believe in this guy. I believe this guy will be very successful in this business if he just gets the opportunity to work with the right type of people. And I definitely think that TNA Wrestling is the place that can do that for him. And we also want to send a special belated birthday to Reno. He had a birthday yesterday. If I would have known that on Thursday, I would have tried to surprise him with a little something. But Justin, if you're listening, bro, happy belated birthday to you, and hope you're having a fantastic weekend. How about that? You have a birthday as you're going into Super Bowl weekend. That just kicks ass right there. All right, boys and girls, we're going to take a very brief commercial break, but when we come right back, we'll cover the very latest news in Ring of Honor and the very latest in wrestling-related news, entertainment news, and beyond. You know, we got those reviews coming up for Foo Fighters' Dave Grohl's directorial debut in Sound City. You surely had checked out the DVD. I'll give you the 411 on that. And we also have a review for the new Metal Gear Rising demo, as the full game will be coming out later this month. So, hope you're enjoying this show so far on February 2nd, 2013. Weekend edition of the RCWR show will be coming right back.
Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond. You're listening to the RCWR show, Weekend edition, with your host, Lee Sanders.
The RCWR show, February 2nd, 2013. Just a day away from Super Bowl, or as it's being dubbed, the Hard Bowl. Hey, welcome you all to checking out today's show. Hope your weekend is going pretty good so far, and hopefully in your neck of the woods, you did not get hit with that much snow. Over here in the metropolitan area, it just always amazes me because I'm not actually from here. I'm actually from Chicago, but I have been a D.C., Maryland resident for about 15 years. It always amazes me how the people over here act like major wussies. You sit up and say that an inch of snow is going to hit the ground, and all of a sudden you see left and right schools are being delayed by 2 hours. People are 2-3 hours late to work. You know, I see this and it just rattles my mind to no end. I'm just saying to myself, how in the hell would you make it in a snowstorm from Chicago if you cannot handle 1 inch of snow? Crazy, I know. Hey, we got a quick programming note that we want to let you guys know about in case you haven't heard the news yet, as we've been giving it out all week. Beginning this Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on the RCWR show, which you can listen to right here on blogtalkradio.com. It's a new era. That's right, a new era begins, as I'm going to be joined by my new co-host. And you all may have heard of him if you've made your rounds listening to other wrestling radio shows, as we know there's quite a few of you that like to listen to a little bit of everybody. You may know him from his work that he did as a special correspondent for Pro Wrestling Report's Monday Night Meltdown. He was also the co-host of Sudden Impact Radio. He's currently the host of his own show, The Diamond K Show. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Diamond K is going to be joining me permanently as the new co-host for all the shows from here on out. And honestly, I couldn't think of a better guy to be doing this with. I had begun looking for a new co-host right around November, as I had set up and said to myself, you know, I kind of want for 2013 to really kick off on a really good note. It'd be really totally kick-ass if I can find a co-host to tag along with me and just go back and forth, as really that's the true best of a show, is when you have somebody that you can just go back and forth with on a regular basis. And we did a 2-part collaboration where I had appeared on his show and he had appeared on mine, and the chemistry and all that, it was just clicking so well. And it was so funny because I actually wasn't even looking at Diamond K. I was just chatting with him, and he told me how he wanted to do more shows, and I actually told him how I was looking for a co-host and was telling him how the hunt was going. And Diamond K was like, well, why don't we, do something on a regular basis? So, lo and behold, long story short, that's going to be our new co-host. I'm very excited. He's definitely excited. Now, for those of you that are wondering, well, what does this mean for the RCWR show? What does this mean as far as always getting my unique spin on how I cover wrestling and beyond? Well, it's still going to be the same. There's just going to be a second voice that's going to be offering their opinions. And quite honestly, I'll give myself a little pat on the back here, and I usually don't give myself a pat on the back. I did the best job that I could for a guy just holding the fort down on this show solo for pretty much a whole year, but the name of the game is evolving, and I just think that for you, the listeners, you would really get a total overall better experience when we have a co-host on board. But I'm still going to be my same self, and if you're a little bit familiar with Diamond's work, you know then exactly what he's going to be bringing. It's going to be pretty freaking awesome. So make sure you check that out this Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. New era of the RCWR show. Lee Sanders joined by Diamond K. And also, before we go any further into today's show, I want to just take this time out, and I want to just send a heartfelt best wishes, condolences, prayers to the family of that beautiful 15-year-old girl, Hadia Pendleton. Of course, she unfortunately had lost her life due to gun violence in my old stomping grounds, Chicago, earlier this week. And it's so just frightening when you hear this, because she had performed with her school band at the president's inauguration. And, unfortunately, here was a case right here where she was just at the wrong place at the wrong time. As her and friends, they were just trying to take a little bit of shelter from the rain, and a young boy just went on a shooting spree, and she unfortunately didn't make it. Another person was fatally shot. He is currently in the hospital in serious condition, and this just comes fresh off of the heels as Congress is getting ready to have one of the most anticipated debates in quite some time concerning the gun laws. And if you all recall, we did a very special episode with Dr. Bart Rossi in December. It was a really great, insightful interview there. You're just keeping track of just all this stuff that's going on. And I have found this interesting statistic that I'd like to share with you all. Since those Newton shootings that went down, so far, right on up to date, including what had happened with that beautiful young girl, over 1,450 people have lost their lives to gun violence all across this country, in particular in America. That is just a crazy statistic when you hear that. Hopefully there will be a positive end to this in the weeks to come, where laws can be more enforced. I know they're trying to look into the whole having police officers be in schools. Some people, they may frown on that. They may not like this idea, but whatever you got to do to make sure that your kid is going to be safe, I say you go for it. But we'll be paying attention to this story very, very closely, and who knows, maybe we might actually do a follow-up to that special episode on gun violence that we did in December. Maybe we might follow up on that on a future episode. All right, so with that in mind, let's try to liven up the mood a little bit more, and let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about what happened on Friday Night Smackdown this week. We saw a very pissed-off World Heavyweight Champion in Alberto Del Rio, who was seeking revenge from what the Big Show had did to him and his good friend, Ricardo Rodriguez, of course, duct taping them and just delivering WMDs left and right. We see Alberto Del Rio, he's in the parking lot, steel bat in hand, waiting patiently all night for Big Show to arrive. Big Show would arrive from a tour bus, and we just saw Del Rio just ready to go to the body of Big Show with that bat. All my years of watching the Big Show, I've never seen him run from somebody so quickly before in my life, but what was even more funny was that Alberto Del Rio, as slim as he is, and we know he has speed, he just kept toying with the Big Show. Just grab him already. Why are you even giving him all that chase? But I understood exactly what they were trying to have us look at in seeing Del Rio. Basically, he's calm, he's mean. At the same time, he just has this new mean streak, something that we haven't seen, honestly, in quite some time. And I just feel that by working with the Big Show, he has just been doing a superb job in getting over with the WWE Universe. Now, we saw Big Show try to squeeze himself into the most tiniest rental car you could possibly think of. It just looked like a whale. Big old whale at that, trying to fit into a small-ass can of sardines. I was amazed that Big Show could even get in that car and drive off. We thought that was going to be the end of Big Show for the night. However, Big Show would pop up towards the end of the night as Alberto Del Rio was having a match against Dolph Ziggler, of which Del Rio was able to win. But we saw Big Show appear on the Titantron, letting Del Rio know that once again he had his little buddy, and he told him that if he ever puts his hands on him like that again, comes at him like that again, he will destroy him like a twig. And once again, we saw Ricardo Rodriguez become victim to another WMD punch, and you can only imagine how Alberto Del Rio is going to be going into Monday Night Raw. A very interesting rivalry that has been happening right here between these two men. I still am not tired of this yet. My only thing is, and I know they're not going to give us this match again, I can't wait to see what type of a gimmick match we're going to have next. I mean, you just did 2 last man standing matches. How can you top that? I'm very curious to see what they're going to do with this, if it's even going to be a gimmick match. I think it really should be. Maybe they could do some type of a tables match, or maybe they could let it be a falls count anywhere match, or hell, maybe they could just go on ahead and let it be a street fight match. That would really be pretty freaking awesome, I would think. Of course, as we had mentioned on our WWE Royal Rumble post show, we said that you could expect on the Smackdown side of things that there was going to be some type of a elimination chamber tournament where the winners would advance into those precious spots to be able to compete for the World Heavyweight Championship. Now, brilliantly, we did see Dolph Ziggler eliminate himself from that picture, as really he has the Money in the Bank briefcase. He could just really play it smart and be looking to cash it in at the Elimination Chamber on whoever the champion is, as that would be the right time for the pickings. So we saw Dolph Ziggler excuse himself from this tournament. However, we did see the return of the All-American Jack Swagger, looking ever so grizzly with his new beard that he's pushing. We saw him want to get in on this tournament. Now, he did not get into action, if I'm not mistaken. I believe we'll see him next week. But in the meantime, we did see Wade Barrett in action, as he had suffered another loss, for those of you that are keeping track, to the great Randy Orton. And you just kind of felt bad for Wade Barrett right here, because you're thinking about the loss that Wade Barrett had took on Monday Night Raw. You combine that with the upset that he had experienced at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view, all by Bo Dallas. And then you combine that with the loss that he suffered to Randy Orton on Friday night. Yes, it's hard to believe that he is even the Intercontinental Champion. But we saw Wade Barrett try to get a little bit of his frustrations out, as he had crossed paths with Bo Dallas in a backstage segment, and he just proceeded to beat that young man down. WWE, I have to give them a pat on the back for continuing to push new talent, and it looks like they are not done with Bo Dallas, not by a long shot. Very curious to see how that is going to culminate. Could it possibly be a case where Bo Dallas may have a singles match against Wade Barrett? If so, when would it take place? Could it be at Elimination Chamber? Could it be a case where maybe these two would kick off a YouTube pre-show? I think that would really be the smart way to go, is to have it be a YouTube pre-show. Of course, we had also saw the return of Rey Mysterio. I know it's like, yeah, we see him, but then again, he's gone the next week. It's really kind of hard to get behind Rey Mysterio because the 1 minute you're going, oh, hey, it's Rey Mysterio. All right, he's back. And then the next week, Rey Mysterio is gone again, and you don't see him for a couple of weeks. I'm just ready to see this guy just totally disappear already. That's just my 2 cents on that. Now, we did see Team Rhodes Scholars, Damian Sandow, Cody Rhodes, they ended up parting ways so that they could focus more on their singles careers. And I thought this was a very smart move. Remember, we were saying this a couple of weeks back that it really just made more sense to have Damian Sandow be separated from Cody Rhodes because, if anything, Cody Rhodes has unfortunately slowed Damian Sandow quite a bit, as he really just had a lot of momentum going in his favor as that singles competitor. He was getting noticed, and he was doing it all on his own back at a time when he did not need to work some type of a segment with D-Generation X, back at a time when he did not need to be at the receiving end of finishers left and right from people or the end of a bad joke. He was just one of those type of guys that was just throwing it down, and he was looking damn good doing it. I thought that this was a really great move. I'm looking at things from Cody Rhodes' perspective. Maybe this could be a case right here where Cody Rhodes is maybe going to get another chance with the new handlebar mustache and all. Maybe he's going to get another opportunity to try to shine and convince WWE that he is deserving of a singles push. I'm going to be watching both of these men very carefully, but more in particular, I'm going to be paying very close attention to how Cody Rhodes does this time around. I really think it helped him big time that he was able to work briefly with his older brother, Goldust. I kind of think that might have had a few heads in the company open their eyes a little bit. But overall, pretty strong episode of Smackdown. Once again, we kept seeing those video footages of what was happening with poor Vince McMahon. And if you watched all the WWE shows this week, you know there was about 10 minutes of time that was just dedicated to selling the hell out of Vince McMahon, getting that F5 by Brock Lesnar. Some even going on record saying that Vince McMahon took that F5 better than John Cena. Yeah, I would actually go to that extreme. I've never seen, in all my years, and I'm a huge Vince McMahon fan, Vince McMahon is one of those type of guys. When you think of Vince McMahon, you think of Vince McMahon wrestling. You think about those street fights that he has, and he is just the king of taking bumps. But to see him take a F5, and it was the full effect F5. Brock just treated Vince like he was just an average Joe. Again, mad props to that, which also is going to bring us very shortly to our entertainer of the week. We got a bit of a tie right here. I don't know. It might be a three-way. We'll have it figured out in just a moment. But very good episode of Smackdown. Of course, Monday Night Raw, one of the main highlights. We are going to be seeing The Miz interview none other than Paul Heyman. And we should point out to you all, don't be too surprised if we may end up seeing the former WWE Champion CM Punk get into the face of Paul Heyman, because, see, now you have a very interesting development right here. You've revealed that Paul Heyman is the one that paid Brad Maddox in the Shield to help CM Punk retain his title at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, and then the pay-per-view after that, if I'm not mistaken, Survivor Series is what I'm thinking. But here's the thing. Do you now have CM Punk come out to challenge Paul Heyman and say, so wait a minute, you sat up and you did XYZ behind my back all these times when people were doubting me? You were doing what you were doing. Why would you even do this? Why would you even put me in this type of a position? And this could be really the reality check right here that CM Punk would get from Paul Heyman. And I know a lot of people have been kind of teasing for a long period of time. could we ever see a CM Punk, Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman team? And remember the article there that we had read to you guys last week or 2 weeks ago where Paul Heyman had said only if WWE wants to pay some very serious money. I don't really know if that could truly be a case of something that we will see because of the type of contract that Brock Lesnar has right now. As I really just don't see that happening. That would mean that he would have to use up more dates. So unfortunately, as much as I would love to see that happen, I don't just think it's going to happen. But instead, we're now going to get a case right here. It's going to kind of pay a little bit of reminiscence to one of my favorite Rocky movies of all time, Rocky III, where we had Mr. T in there, Clobber Lang. Remember how Mick had revealed to Rocky how he had some of those fights fixed after he had took it on with Apollo Creed in Part 2. Remember that for you Rocky fans out there? Well, it's kind of got that same type of vibe of CM Punk basically saying, hey, so, some of these matches, you had them rigged, you didn't have faith in me, you didn't believe in me, and this really just gives Paul Heyman the golden opportunity he needs to really just stick it to CM Punk. And if CM Punk even tries to do something at this point, I see Brock Lesnar getting into the face of CM Punk. And who knows, folks, but Brock Lesnar may play a very important role in that Elimination Chamber match between The Rock and CM Punk, depending on how things go for Monday night. But you have some really good ingredients right there to look forward to this Monday. Of course, Brock Lesnar is scheduled to make another return this Monday night, so should be a very interesting development right there. All right, so guys, I got some Ring of Honor news for you guys. Now, later today, it looks like Ring of Honor is going to be doing some tapings for their match that they have taking place in Baltimore, which sees the world's greatest tag team, Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin. They're going to be taking on Jay and Mark Briscoe for the tag titles. Now, bear in mind that if Benjamin and Haas lose, then they must split up, and they will never be able to team in Ring of Honor again. Very high stakes right here, as remember at Border Wars, originally, this was all supposed to go down, but Jay and Mark Briscoe, they went on ahead and they decided to give the world's greatest tag team another opportunity at those tag belts. Also, we're going to be seeing a match. It's going to be a six-man grudge match, that is, with Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Roderick Strong taking on the American Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, and Michael Elgin. We got a semifinals and finals of the Top Prospect Tournament that will also be taking place. Kevin Steen, that is, he's going to be speaking today. Apparently he has a lot that he wants to get off his chest. Also, there's going to be some autograph signings for Ring of Honor's fans, so you can check that out. And the Final Battle 2012 is now available on DVD at Ring of Honor's store. You get to check out the Ladder War 4, Hardy versus Cole, Strong versus Elgin, Scum versus Briscoes versus CNC. All the other great matches from that is now on DVD. Check that out. Also, the 11th anniversary event is approaching. It's going to be happening on March 2nd in Chicago Ridge. Looks like it's shaping up to be a pretty solid card so far, as World Heavyweight Champion Kevin Steen will defend his title against Jay Lethal. The American Wolves, Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards, will battle the Forever Hooligans, Rocky Romero and Alex Kozlov, in a dream tag match, is what a lot of people have been describing it as. Adam Cole, in the meantime, he'll be facing the winner of the Top Prospect Tournament. Roderick Strong will go 2 out of 3 falls with Michael Elgin. There's going to be a lot more matches announced. Tickets are available right now. Make sure that you check it out. You can do so at ringofhonorwrestling.com. And for those of you that want to get that fix on Ring of Honor television tapings, If it's not in your area, you'll actually be able to go to Ring of Honor Wrestling's website, become a ringside member for just $8, and you'll be able to catch up on all the episodes that you've missed. So check that out, and you can thank me later. All right, I want to take a very brief commercial break, but then when we come right back, I want to dip into a little bit of entertainment news. Of course, we got to kick it off with those kick-ass reviews for you guys, as yours truly have played the new Metal Gear Rising demo for the Xbox 360. I'm going to give you the 411 on this. You're going to like what I have to say about it if you're a hardcore Metal Gear fan. And we'll also give you the review of Foo Fighters' Dave Grohl's new project. Just came out on DVD, Sound City. Very interesting DVD. I'll give you the details on that. You're checking out the weekend edition of the RCWR show, coming at you on February 2nd, 2013, 3:15 p.m. on the East Coast. We'll be coming right back in just a hot second, so folks, do hang tight.
For news you can use, like us on Facebook during this commercial break at Infinity One Productions.
All right, so let's kick things off, and let's talk about some of these reviews, as I had sat down earlier this week, and I was checking out some cool stuff. So we had the Metal Gear Solid Rising demo that came out, and man, where do I even begin? Well, I'll tell you what, I'll look at the positives. You know, the one thing that had always irritated me about Metal Gear was that I could pick up a controller and I just always get my ass handed to me. And when it comes to Metal Gear Solid, I've always been one of those type of people. I like to watch my pretend brother play it because he is just the king when it comes to the Metal Gear Solid games. That man can just spend hours and hours and hours just playing it, especially if he's not going to work for a couple of days. That man will do a Metal Gear Solid marathon, and that guy is just so damn good when he plays. He is usually on the spot, like the first time that he's playing. Very rare do I see him mess up, and it's almost like at a point where some of the past several Metal Gear Solid games I've seen him play, he's actually had the nerve to record his gameplay, and he plays it back. I mean, it just looks freaking phenomenal. It's like you're watching a whole big old movie just play out right before your eyes. It's like watching 24 or something with Kiefer Sutherland. I mean, it's just ridiculous. This game, you know, I was frustrated as hell, and I just kept trying my best to play this demo, and I just kept getting my ass handed to me. I believe I spent about maybe 3 hours, and I just kept dying on the same part, but that's not the whole point. The point of this particular game, and I want to make sure that I set this up properly for you guys that's a little bit curious. The way that this game goes about, it's basically a interquel. It basically takes place between the events of Metal Gear Solid Sons of Liberty and Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriot. Now, it's the 9th game in the Metal Gear series, and the plot itself, it takes 4 years in the future after the events of Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriot. And the story is basically focusing on a cyborg ninja named Raiden, who's basically in a fight against this military private company called the Desperado Enterprises. Now, for those of you that might remember, you know your Metal Gear Solid stuff, history there. It was supposed to be a Japanese release for the Xbox 360 platform, but the version was canceled. Now, this game was to be produced originally by Kojima Productions. However, Kojima Productions, they had difficulties in developing the game based on the sword play. Spoiler alert coming ahead for you guys. So the franchise director, Hideo Kojima, he canceled it. Now, later on, in late 2011, a solution was found as Platinum Games ended up taking over the development. Now, despite all this and the big significant change in the gameplay, I must admit that you hardcore Metal Gear Solid fans, you're going to be really disappointed with this game because, you know, instead of the whole stealth, using your gun and, one of them type of games. It's not like that. This is pretty much a hack and slash game. You're just running around as Raiden, and you're just slicing up people with your sword. No longer is it about using stealth and using a severe thought process. You know what I'm saying, guys? It's not about thinking each move carefully, trying to figure out where you should go next, or how you should try to sneak around this person. No, this game calls for you to take the direct approach and just hack and slash. And that's actually one of the things that I'm most disappointed about with this game. Visually, it looks very stunning. It's very beautiful. But, as far as the hack and slash, I'm really not sure that true Metal Gear Solid fans are going to appreciate this. It's one of those type of games that maybe you could kind of get over in due time, but if you've been following the entire series and you're kind of wondering if maybe you should kind of check this out, I highly would encourage you to play the demo first. And even at that, the demo just really felt like you were getting a tutorial, basically. It didn't really feel like you were actually playing a specific level. And, one of the modes that will take up a lot of your time, especially in mastering it right, is the sword blade mode. Now, in that mode, you basically get this really cool slow-mo graphic where you basically have to pinpoint a specific area that you want to try to attack your target. And bear in mind that if you attack your opponents in this game a certain way, they'll basically give your Raiden character this necessary energy that he needs, because that's the other thing about this game. During the course of your missions, Raiden, he loses energy, and basically the people that he's attacking are cyborgs, and they have the necessary fuel juice that he needs to keep going. So you kind of have to put a little bit of a thought process into the way that you're hacking and slashing, because it could be quite a long time before your health can go back up to 100%. And perfect example that I have found myself coming across early on, I was down to about maybe 64% of health because I just went in with the direct hack and slash approach. But then I had to say, wait a minute, okay, well, they're telling me I need to attack people a certain way, okay, and then once I turned on the sword blade mode, I was able to highlight a key area of a limb that I wanted to attack, and when I attacked it, eventually you do like a chain of attacks, kind of similar to a Devil May Cry, if you guys ever played that, or God of War. Once you build up this nice chain of attacks, and you're able to just then see this cool cinema where you're basically able to put your hand into the abdomen of the person you're attacking. You're able to rip out the fuel juice, and you charge yourself up that way. It's pretty badass the way that they do this. And, other than that, which I thought was a nice little cool feature, I miss Snake, man. I got to have fucking Snake. So for those of you that are long, diehard fans of the Metal Gear Solid franchise, I would have to say take your dare sweet time checking out this game. Maybe wait to see what the big dogs may say about this. Good friends over at Rev 3. I'd say G4, but they're out of business now. Wait to see what Rev 3 Games says, and as you all know, Adam Sessler, he's now joined them. They're like probably the next big thing that's happening right now. They've really been catching on quite quickly, and they haven't even been around that long. They don't even have 8 months under their belt yet, if I'm not mistaken, but they've been making a impact in the gaming industry so far as their unique coverage and reviews of games. Wait to kind of see what they say, but as far as I'm looking at this game right now, it's definitely a strong departure from the Metal Gear Solid games that you may be accustomed to. It looks very promising visually, but once again, it just comes up for me just a little bit too short. However, the storyline, from what I was able to gather from this demo, although it wasn't much, it does look like, as far as it goes, it still delivers in that Metal Gear Solid true trademark. It still delivers in that great fashion of telling a really great in-depth story. So I think that when the full game comes out, fans will really have something to sink their teeth into. But if you just want to be playing this just to say that, hey, this is another Metal Gear Solid game that I've played, you're more than welcome to check it out. But so far from what I've seen of the demo, out of a scale of 1 to 10, I would have to give it a modest 6 out of 10 right now. All right, and let's talk about another thing that I had ended up checking out that I want to give you guys an honest review about, which is Sound City, the film, and it's a documentary by Foo Fighters' Dave Ghrol. And it basically talks about the history of the Los Angeles recording studio known as Sound City Studios. Now, the background for this in a nutshell, Dave Ghrol, when he was with Nirvana, they basically had recorded their Nevermind album, one of their best freaking albums of all time, at Sound City Studios. And Ghrol was inspired to create the documentary after he had purchased several items from the studio, including a mixing console, a rare analog model, upon the studio's closing in 2011. And from there, Dave Ghrol just went on this really cool kick-ass journey where he just had talked to a whole bunch of artists that have stopped through Sound City to record albums, and he talks to people among the likes of Fleetwood Mac, Neil Young, Rick Springfield, Tom Petty, Metallica. It's got some really great, insightful interviews as he talks to Lars Ulrich, Butch Vig, Neil Young, Rick Rubin, Trent Reznor, Chris Novoselic, Stevie Nicks, Mick Fleetwood, Frank Black. There's a ton of people that he talks to about this. This was really a great eye-opening experience of a documentary, as Ghrol even went to these same people to try to challenge them to make new recordings. And, of course, we won't be able to hear those new recordings until next month, as the soundtrack for this documentary will be available March 12th. But in the meantime, they do have that one single that's floating around that you can buy right now called Cut Me Some Slack, which features novelist Pat Smear and Paul McCartney on vocals. A little bit of a Nirvana reunion, but not so much. But, you know, the DVD film itself, I actually ended up checking this out on my iPad as I bought it that way. It was just really a great eye-opening experience of a film. It was one that really just took its time in explaining the whole creative process and just giving you that cool California studio background, capturing all that magic that a lot of those artists was able to get when they stopped by that studio. It really was just explosive, in my honest opinion. Really a great eye-opener. And let's not forget, this is Dave Grohl's directorial debut, and I must say he did a phenomenal job. And for those of you that are keeping track, not only has Dave Ghrol done this, but he recently just finished directing Soundgarden's new video by Crooked Steps. And if you haven't seen that yet, check it out. It's some hilarious stuff. We actually have it up on our Facebook page right now, and you can check that out at Infinity One Productions. And a very funny video. It basically kicks off with the band. They are playing a hand of cards, and then they decide to put on their Crooked Step jackets, kind of look like they got an aces and eights thing going on. And just when it looks like they're maybe riding motorcycles, they're actually going around, and they're riding on these little scooter things. And they go to this club, and they see this guy that's trying to entertain a crowd with his little beats that he's playing on his laptop. And Soundgarden, they basically unhook his stuff, and they have him shoo away, and they kick out the jams. I mean, they're just literally tearing the roof off of the club. But this little crybaby, he ends up calling the cops, and Soundgarden, they leave just in time when they see that the cops are coming for them. They hop back on their scooters and try to ride off into the sunset, but eventually the cops, they catch up with them. And I don't want to give it a spoiler alert, but one of the arresting officers at the end of the video is someone that is very well connected to Dave Ghrol. I'll give you a hint. He's a DJ, as apparently a lot of people weren't even aware of who this guy was. So a little bit of a spoiler right there. Check that out. It's pretty fun, interesting video right there. But with regards to Sound City, 1 to 10, I'd have to say this DVD is definitely a 9 out of 10. I'm only giving it a 9 out of 10 because I just wanted more content, really. That was my only gripe. But check that out. It's definitely a well worth purchase. It's available now, all digital outlets, available in stores. Check it out. You won't be disappointed. You can thank me later. All right, and in other entertainment news for you guys, one of the things that I got to let you know about, in case you might happen to be a Johnny Cash fan, it looks like Johnny Cash will be memorialized by the U.S. Postal Service this year with his very own stamp, as the country legend will be a part of a new Music Icon series of stamps. And his version features a photograph by Frank Bees that was taken for 1963's Ring of Fire, the best of Johnny Cash. It's a really cool kick-ass black and white design that's intended to resemble a 45 RPM record sleeve. Now, Cash's stamp went through a just rigorous selection process to be issued, as originally they had got offered 40,000 suggestions for stamp ideas each year, but they ended up cropping that significantly down to about 20 picks to make the cut. So that really gives you an idea of the thought process that they had going into this. And the stamp looks total badass. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. Looks like Entourage movie is getting the green light from HBO. For those of you that remember that show, from what we're able to gather, it looks like, according to a report by Deadline, Warner Brothers has green-lighted a movie version of the HBO series that ran from 2004 to 2011, which would reprise the exploits of Adrian Greener's movie star Vinny Chase and his cronies, and, of course, the backbiting agent Ari Gold, portrayed by Jeremy Piven. Now, negotiations are still underway with the cast of the series. No word when this movie could hit theaters. We'll be watching this very closely for you guys for all the latest updates. Also, want to let you guys know of some other news that's going to be happening. Looks like Justin Timberlake is set to perform at the Grammys. Now, this will be the singer's appearance at the awards in 4 years. And as you all know, Justin Timberlake is gearing up to make a serious comeback, as he's going to have a new album that's going to be dropping later this year. About damn time. Seems like Justin Timberlake has been away for a good long minute now. Got some John Fogerty news for you all. It looks like the singer's ninth album has been making a huge success, as he has a LP that's out that's kind of built around new versions of Creedence Clearwater revival hits Fortunate Son, Born on the Bayou, as he records them with special guests including Kid Rock, Foo Fighters, Bob Seger, and more. It's been called a nostalgic type of album. We'll definitely have to review that for you guys. I haven't had the chance to check that out yet, but I definitely wanted to share that piece of news with you, as I thought it was very interesting right there. And also, in case you guys might have not heard, it looks like as though Metallica will be getting the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Golden Gods ceremony. That's right. They will be able to lay claim to another corner of their heavy metal universe. This is all going to be going down on May 2nd, when they will be at the Revolver's Golden Gods Award ceremony with a live performance in Los Angeles. That is going to totally kick ass. And you know Chris Jericho is going to play some type of part in that, as he's been known to pop up at the event from time to time. Should be very interesting right there. Other than that, we got that new movie that's out right now with Christopher Walken, Harvey Keitel, Al Pacino. It's called Stand Up Guys. And that's been kind of meeting a little bit of mixed reviews. I'll probably end up seeing it this weekend. Maybe we could do a follow-up for you guys, have a review for it next week. But from what I'm able to see so far and what I'm able to hear, kind of sounds as though Christopher Walken was really able to save this movie. It looks kind of like it might be a good little chuckle. Who knows? But I don't know, man. I'm already hearing the rumblings that this movie's kind of bad, but that Christopher Walken saved it. Who knows? Got some Randy Travis news for you guys. He recently had pleaded guilty to DWI, and as a result of that, he's been sentenced to rehab and probation. As you all know, he was in a serious funk last year, as it just seemed like he just kept popping up in the headlines left and right. Now, he's going to have to cough up an additional $2,000 fine on top of spending that time in rehab, and he's going to have to perform 100 hours of community service, and he's going to have to wear a interlock device installed on his car for the duration of his probation. This device will prevent him from turning on the ignition if his blood level is too high. Now, he appears to be very grateful about this. Hopefully he can get his life turned around and he can do it very fast. I wish that guy nothing but the best. Hopefully we can stop reading negative things about him in the papers there. I have some Tina Turner news for you all. It looks like she's in the process right now of trading in her American passport for a Swiss one. This is according to ABC News. Looks like the singer's petition for Swiss citizenship was recently approved by her local council after she passed a civics test and interview. Now, it should be noted that Turner has been living in Zurich since 1995 after moving to the country with her longtime manager, German record executive Aaron Batch. And she's been quoted saying that she's very happy in Switzerland and feels at home there, and that she cannot imagine a better place to live. Of course, Tina Turner, 73 years old, but still has those beautiful legs, which you know are insured. And let's go ahead and let's wrap it up. I got some Rick Ross news for you guys in case you might have missed it. Rick Ross, his car had crashed into a building recently after a drive-by shooting, as apparently he was the target of a drive-by shooting in Florida, according to a report by the Huffington Post. Now, Fort Lauderdale police, they've confirmed that Ross, real name William Roberts, was riding in a Rolls Royce that went out of control and slammed into an apartment building around 5 a.m. Luckily, no one was injured. Now, according to a report by NBC6 Miami, witnesses saw another vehicle fire on the Rolls Royce, and the car crashed into the building while trying to evade that gunfire. Witnesses initially said they heard so many as 20 shots fired, and the two passengers in the Rolls Royce originally asked police to withhold their names out of concern for their safety. Now, Ross, he was celebrating his 37th birthday then at a nearby Floridian restaurant, according to a report by the Miami Herald, which reports that the restaurant was also hit with gunfire and that Ross spoke to investigators at the eatery. The apparent shootings attempt against Ross follows a gang threat from the Black Disciples, who are upset with Ross's interferences and references, to gang leader Larry Hoover in his track BMF, Blowing Money Fast. Remember, last December, Ross canceled 2 North Carolina dates and later nixed the remainder of the tour after receiving death threats and various YouTube videos from the Black Disciples. We'll be staying on top of that story very closely for you all. And other than that, folks, that is pretty much it. I think we did pretty damn good today with the return of our weekend edition of the RCWR show. And that's going to do it. All right, so as always, we want to let you guys know you can be kind and you can rewind for all the episodes that you might have missed this week as we've been pumping out some really great, solid stuff. Feel free to check us out in the iTunes, Zune, Stitcher marketplaces. Just use the keywords, the RCWR show, and you'll want to check them all out. It's pretty good stuff. Before I go off the air, I want to just take this time out to humbly thank you, our Blog Talk Radio listeners, for making January be one of our most best and strongest months since we have been on the air. We've been on the air for almost a year, coming up in March, and we want to thank you guys from the bottom of our hearts. We had saw a month that we have our work cut out for us. We're going to try to see if we can duplicate those same numbers for this month, but we want to take this time to thank you as we had a just great big old sea of great shows that we have put out all in the month of January, ushering in a new year. And things are only going to get better, my friends, that I promise you. So we're on a break for now, but of course, as always, the talk of wrestling, it does not end here. Check us out at InfinityOneProductions.com, where we cover so much more than wrestling as we dip into a little bit of everything and beyond. And also, you can interact with us on Twitter at InfinityOneProd. Hit us up on Facebook at InfinityOneProductions. We'll see you guys this Tuesday night for the RCWR show, where I'll be joined by new co-host Diamond K. We'll be covering the fallout from WWE Raw, also the very latest in wrestling-related news and beyond. That's it, folks. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Go Ravens. We will see you later. Be kind. Be safe to one another.